So, um, it took me a while. It took me a while, but I am finally done with some things. I'm finally done with some things and some connections, and I'm saying goodbye to certain connections and things. I mean, some of it's not by my choice. If I had my choice, I would still be hooked up with certain people and certain things, but I lost my publisher. I lost a lot of stuff, like I've said before. In some cases, there were issues just between me and somebody else personally going on. I still try not to let that bother me or drag me down, and etc. Um, but really, what I should have did from the get go was basically just delete a bunch of people because I was still friends with a lot of their friends, a lot of a lot of people that they were friends with and stuff. So it's like you have a love interest, you have somebody who's like a love interest to you, or a love interest, or somebody who you wanted to be a love interest, and it just doesn't work out for whatever the reason. In this case, it was like ideologies and wokeism and racism and stuff that came into play that it really did not work out. Racism on their end, not my end, but racism on their end because of woke ideologies and principles that obviously are hurting the black community and hurting society a lot more than doing society any type of good. But regardless, when you get these certain principles and things, and ideologies embedded into your system, and certain people don't are not always raised to believe in such things and etc. You tend to get clashing. You tend to get clashing. You tend to get a lot of issues, especially when people try to make it a culture war. People try to make it a cultural problem. I mean, I was gonna go forward with still being friends with that person's friends, or because she had a lot of artistic friends. Because everybody wanted to be friends with a lot of people wanted to be friends with people for the sake of everybody's artistic career. But um, that's just not gonna happen for me. I can't. It's like being friends with my friends. It's like being it's like the person I was trying. It's like the person I was trying to romance, her friends that I was actually trying to be friends with also, that were also basically career oriented and artistically oriented and stuff like that. It was like trying to romance like my ex's friend. Say if we were like an ex, because she might as well just been an ex, or a love relationship situation that didn't work out. That it's like being friends with your ex's, your ex love interest, or your ex's friends, and the relationship is long over, but yet you got all these relationships on your profile of all these artists and etc. that were connected to your ex love interest, or your ex, that obviously, are still giving you a hard time to let that person go, because everybody wants to be supportive of that person, and some people were supportive of that person first. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, some of those people I friended were supportive of that person first, and that what that person was doing. So I can't complain. I mean, obviously, if I still didn't get the support, or if I never got the support, things didn't go off the ground. Some people are going to say, oh, it's my fault because obviously I jumped the gun, I did this and that. But no, it takes two to tango. It takes two to tango. It takes two for responsibility and stuff like that. Not only was this person in a love interest and etc., but her friend deliberately took a job for the state of Connecticut for mental health services. Her friend deliberately took a job to work with people in the mental health field, where it could have been a conflict of interest between me and her, or me and her friend, because of them knowing me personally. And obviously that's against some people might say, oh, it's against professionalism, because you were friends with these people outside of the program and etc., and it was a breach of confidentiality. But a lot of people are telling me, no, it wasn't a breach of confidentiality. You still could have been friends with them. You still could have associated with them. But the relationship with me and this particular person over our ideologies and stuff was over during the pandemic. It was over in like 2020, 2021. Our relationship was pretty much over. I mean, I published poems and their honor and stuff in the last couple of years, but I just to just get them out there and have something to publish. But at the end of the day, I'm basically at that point where um, I need to cut ties. And in order to cut ties completely and honestly with myself, I couldn't keep, the friends of the friends or the artists that support that particular artist or that particular person, Um, she was a very pro black woman. I mean, that's what they call it. That's what some people in the racism dictating thing that they want to call it pro black, but really it's kind of racist and anti white and kind of really in a very pro black thing that's really kind of anti black because it's hurting the black community. But she was kind of pro black, I guess, as they would say, and basically it just didn't work out ideology wise and stuff like that. I mean, it was over for several years, but I mean, I was still kind of holding on because I was still connected to a lot of the friendships and stuff, and was hoping that person would come back into my life. But I needed to just move on and say it was over. It was over, and it's definitely over. It's been over. I mean, especially now that I've lost like my publishing deal and stuff, it's basically over. And pardon me for like rubbing my eyes. I'm really tired, and it's like I got blinding lights in my fucking face. So. Um, but the publishing deal ended. The publishing deal ended, and then with my publishing deal or with what I was doing with the publisher, which basically was publishing me, practically publishing me for nothing. She had projects that she was putting out and was practically publishing me for nothing. All I had to do was buy the book, basically, that my poems were in if I wanted a copy of the book, but basically getting published for nothing. And now it's like I don't have the money or the finances to be published again and stuff like that. So now I'm kind of in a situation where I'm not going to be able to get my artwork out there or distributed as much as I would like to. So I'm kind of disappointed. And I had two publishers. I actually had three publishers originally, but this person that was kind of like a love interest and stuff, she kind of worked with she was a publisher too, so she kind of had a publishing thing for Hartford. It was called Hartford's Lit in Hartford's, Connecticut, which is a literary, which was a literary type of organization about learning how to about reading and writing and poetry and sharing the word spoken word and but apparently it didn't work out very well. I mean, I still had the National Beat Poetry Foundation. I still had Local Gems Press up until a certain point. But when I lost the National Beat Poetry Foundation, I've also decided I wasn't going forward with Local Gems Press because there was a lot of bickering between, the National Beat Poetry Foundation and Local Gems Press and this other guy that was part of the National Beat Poetry Foundation named Colin. This guy Colin, Haskins or Haskins or whatever his name is. There was a lot of argumentative stuff with him and stuff too because he was obviously a business partner, and I guess it was said that that the head of the National Beat Poetry Foundation threw him under the bus, which I'm starting to look back at things and wonder if that was actually true, because in my time of need, in my time of a disagreement, where, and in my time of need where I wish I needed people to agree with me, I needed people to agree with me. It didn't have to be agreed with because obviously it teaches me something if they don't agree, but I would have liked it better if they did agree because it would have been more supportive in my case if they agreed with me and said, okay, I obviously understand you're having a problem, but they obviously did not agree with me on certain things and certain topics about what was going on with some issues with my life and my mental health, and there really was no issue with my mental health. There was something dragging in the arts and etc. Ever since I stopped working for Taquana, there was an issue about Taquana or somebody making an issue about my mental health and my mental well-being and asking if I was okay and etc. To the point eventually I got told that by somebody that, somebody saw me kind of speak my mind online, and they saw me speak passionately and kind of upset about how I was feeling, and somebody took it upon themselves to say, oh, he was in some mental distress, he was in some mental crisis, so basically somebody went and, I got told that, from my mental health workers, who could be basically the problem in all this, from my mental health workers, that somebody tried to, call the cops basically on me and say, oh, they complained about the soul food restaurant that I was working for, that I actually walked off the job with, and they complained about this bookstore next door that, this before, during the pandemic, they moved, into this, this bookstore, they moved into this space that was a bookstore, and created a bookstore, and had a lot more room and stuff like that. But I guess they couldn't get the permit for shows and things too, so there were a lot of issues when it came to like the National Beat Poetry Foundation being able to do, like, shows and stuff, like the past venue that this guy had. This guy John Noki basically had a past venue where he had a small little gallery, and he had a small little stage, but yet we squeezed a lot of artists into this small little gallery, and did like the poetry events and stuff at the situation. But apparently he couldn't get a permit or something, somebody said. So apparently the National Beat Poetry Foundation couldn't work with John Noki again. Then there was some underhanded shadiness going on, where that guy Colin Hackins was obviously working with John and doing favors for John and stuff, which kind of after the stuff during the pandemic, for me, was a conflict of interest and issue. But my publisher with the National Beat Poetry Foundation would complain to me, right? She would complain to me, and she would whine to me, like when I say I had a problem with John Noki, or I had a problem with the artist community. She basically would say, well, she would always bring up this guy Colin, like, me and Colin don't get along, me and Colin don't do this, Colin's trying to take this and Colin's trying to take that. I don't know if she was trying to level with me or just complain to me about her situation, because she thought I was complaining. But it was a very unhealthy situation, I think, was starting to be. I mean, looking back at it, nobody wants to sit there and have you complain or you gripe about your thing after I'm telling you that I have an issue, which we just turned it into a whole situation where I'm obviously having a problem, and now you're griping to me about your stuff. So the whole thing's now turned into a whole situation where people are griping. But regardless, obviously during the pandemic, there were a lot of changes and stuff, which I knew were going to come back to haunt me, but I never knew that they were going to be this stressful or strenuous on me, that I have to prepare to just completely lose my publishing deal, completely lose my publishers, and completely lose my stance with the arts and my heroes. The second time I've lost stuff with my heroes. I mean, obviously for a while I was following Joseph Arthur and stuff too, because I was obviously friends with Joseph Arthur. But me and Joseph Arthur had a misunderstanding too, which was over a female, which kind of led to some mixed feelings about different things, and kind of a separation between me and Joseph in a personal matter. I mean, obviously artistically and etc., I was still following him and stuff online, but in a personal matter, I wasn't, tied to Joseph Arthur in a way, and I kind of lost my dreams with him over a situation about another fan or another woman that kind of friended me on social media online, and kind of befriended me for a certain amount of years, and kind of had a very toxic hold on a situation that went downhill. But and this one could have been very toxic. This whole situation with the National Beat Poetry Foundation could have been very toxic. I could have gone off and I could have threatened my heroes again. I could have just threatened my heroes. And I say again because, there was a misunderstanding, or just a situation where I let this woman get into my head and get into my emotions, and I had overreacted, and I kind of had cursed out Joseph Arthur, and Joseph Arthur was like, what the hell, I mean, because he considered me to be a good person, but yet I cursed him out because obviously this woman was trying to get into my head and tell me all this garbage because she was obsessed with Joseph Arthur and shit, that I kind of overreacted, and I kind of basically, there was a time, almost 8 to 10 years ago that I kind of, overreacted and kind of. So Joseph and I haven't really been friends personally, but obviously we still kind of supported each other. At least I still followed Joseph and supported his career. But so, as I said in some other previous videos, some people think that we're rivals. Some people think me and Joseph are still rivals, and because obviously, because I kind of did what I did. But I mean, obviously, the reasons why I did what I did and how it came to be, if you really understood the intentions and where my intentions were, and if I even had intentions in the first place to do anything that was like that, like really meaningful to do that in the first place, then. But obviously, it happened. It happened, and I looked back and I said, "Whoa, what the fuck did I do?" So, but regardless, the National Beat Poetry Foundation could have been a whole lot worse. I mean, I could have gone off on my heroes with the National Beat Poetry Foundation, and I could have actually taken it out on them. I could have actually blown up and completely lost my cool, and and it would have been just a huge mess. Unfortunately, I just simply walked away after a disagreement, and I defriended a lot of people, and obviously the head of the National Beat Poetry Foundation probably hasn't had a lot of time or etc. So she hasn't said much to me about anything. I mean the last publication I need to get that actually has a poem in it of what I wrote. The last publication is still on my wish list. I put it on my wish list because it's on Amazon, and it's on my Amazon wish list. My last publication, which happened to be for that woman that actually betrayed me with the Joseph Arthur thing. I mean, she wrote me a nasty poem at one point and said I was delusional, I was closed off to love, and etc. So, she wrote me this nasty poem and just kind of degraded me and etc. And it, and told me to forgive Joseph Arthur or the other man she was hiding, on the side that she never told me about or never told me that she had a kid with her, etc. Granted, I travel to go see her and etc. and something falls short, and but regardless, the last poem that I actually had published was actually a poem for the woman that actually did betray me, did actually, the fan or the woman that was, befriended me, but then betrayed me, that, kind of ruined the Joseph Arthur stuff. She was, that poem was basically published in the last anthology that I'm probably ever going to be able to do with the National Beat Poetry Foundation. So I haven't actually got the poem. I mean, I need to get the poem because I'm not sure if we're going to have the money. I mean, I think the first thing next month I should try to order something on Amazon and try to have, do Prime or something and try to get, I don't have Prime, but if you spend a certain amount you can get, things shipped for free. So I'm thinking if I can just add the book to my list and try to get some stuff, maybe I can get the book. But I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted, and my eyes are just like oh. I'm very light sensitive. I'm like light sensitive, and I don't know if I should really shut off the fucking light. Better. Okay, better. I'm not drunk. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. But regardless, the whole situation with the National Beat Poetry Foundation could have been a lot worse. In some cases, I mean, I expected, this person that I had, love interest for, an entanglement, to drag me down a lot sooner. But I think in some cases she's trying to claim that I'm the person who dragged me down because of what happened. But what happened really was just a big misunderstanding and etc. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a misunderstanding, but it was a disagreement. Joseph Arthur's thing was a misunderstanding, or kind of a situation that blew up out of proportion. The thing with the National Beat Poetry Foundation was a disagreement that basically was prevented me from going forward. It prevented me from going forward with the publishing company and the publishers to go forward and be able to get my stuff published and etc. So I wasn't able to do that. So but it could have been a lot worse. I mean, I could have been arguing with those type of heroes in the National Beat Poetry Foundation too, Because obviously, I mean, I don't know if it was necessarily the head of the National Beat Poetry Foundation or my heroes per se, or maybe it was a mixed effort. Maybe my heroes said something to the head of the National Beat Poetry Foundation, and it came from them saying that, oh, we don't think you should really be publishing him anymore, etc. Because of whatever, whatever the situation. Because obviously some things were said behind my back, or etc. Which is not the first time. I don't think people are going to say shit behind my back and speak of me in an ill will that people feel so comfortable about doing, and then they smile to my face, but they speak ill will of my name. So I'm at that point where I'm just like, and never mind the fact that we lost. I don't want to say we lost the open mic, but they're claiming that they didn't have enough. They're claiming that they didn't have enough. They're claiming that they didn't have enough resources and time to really keep the open mic going and etc. I think that some of that's because some of the people that wanted to give you the resources and etc. Basically had a lot of issues, including myself, especially with John Noki and etc. Um, but regardless, during the whole time that all this other stuff's going on and stuff, not the Joseph Arthur stuff, but the whole time this stuff is going on with the National Beat Poetry Foundation, I'm still friends with all these people, all these people that are friends with with this so-called ex love interest and etc. Thinking to myself, oh, maybe this person is going to come back. Maybe this person will come back. But really, I just needed to sever ties. I just needed to man up and grow some balls and just completely sever ties from that relationship, in order to find my happiness, Because let's face it, I was miserable. I was miserable every time we fought over her ideologies, and I had to sit there and be frustrated because I wanted to be supportive of her, but yet her ideologies were being very anti-white and trying to get in the way of me really trying to love and support her properly. Because obviously there's her. Some say it's not really in the ideologies, but it is in the ideologies of the wokeism that it's very anti-white. So basically, during the time we're fighting, I'm sure she, this woman also had kids too. This woman was widowed. And she had kids. So I'm sure her kids, were unhappy when she was unhappy. I'm sure her kids were unhappy, because obviously we'd make each other unhappy or make our lives miserable, or I would take away from her happiness or her situation and what was going on with her, because obviously we would be arguing back and forth and etc. And who knows if she was seeing other people too? She could have been seeing other people. She could have been fucking other people. She could have been doing whatever the fuck she wanted to. Here I am, kind of sitting by myself, kind of processing some things in the last couple of years too, because I was obviously doing that too. But I mean, there comes a time where you just gotta move on and find somebody new and love somebody new. And I've been open to the idea of seeing somebody new for the longest. It's just that. I let something drag on longer than it needed to be, and some of that was because I had hopes that certain things weren't going to be completely burnt, or certain things were not going to be completely torn, and unfortunately they were. And I do not. I've been deleting more and more people that have connections to like the Noki Gallery and the bookstore. I've been deleting people that have connections to, that publisher. I actually been deleting people that have connections to all the publishers, basically all the publishers I used to have. I'm deleting all those people, and especially that one publisher that was a romantic love interest. A lot of those friends still lingered on my page. I mean, I just deleted more like 5 more tonight. It's crazy because I have over 1,000. I have over like 2,000 or almost 2,000 Facebook friends and our Facebook acquaintances, or people that I would like to get to know to better create an artistic community. And some of those people that person knew or supported that person that I knew from trying to be friends with that person, and that friended me to try to almost support me, and kind of failed. That so half of them were all on my page, half of them were all on my page and etc. Let's face it. I know I know that, that her kids were probably unhappy every time their mother was unhappy. That we would fight and argue over the ideologies and over her teachings and stuff, and she would get really aggravated and upset and kind of distraught over me. I'm sure her kids were probably very, it took away from her kids or made her kids feel some type of way, and she's probably doing better now. She's probably doing better now that she's not talking to me and etc. At least I hope she is. That's just the kind of person I am. I'm not trying to wish death on the person. I'm not trying to wish anything bad. I wish that person the best. But apparently, you can't. I couldn't go forward. I couldn't go forward. I mean, that person decided to cut it off with me, and I told her I can't keep going back and forth. I did ask that person if they would sleep with me though at one point, and that obviously failed. I mean, that was way past. It was way past that point at that point, but I still asked him. I said, "Hey, not for nothing. Can I just have one night? Can I have one night with you? One night? One night? Can I have one night? Give me one night." And I meant that too. Please give me one night. Um, and it wasn't like a pity fuck. It wasn't like a pity fuck or anything. It was just more like I still desired her. Part of me still desired her, and part of me still wanted that one night. And it's just very hard to explain. Um, but here I am looking like a fool, so. Mm. But yeah, I was basically friends with a lot of my I was basically friends with a lot of with this artistic ex or this artistic love interest ex with this artistic love interest exes. I mean, it could happen with any artistic love interest or any artistic person that I could build a life and things can go good, and me and somebody artistically could be seeing each other and etc. And maybe we can make connections. Maybe she would introduce me to her family, or maybe she would introduce me to her friends. We would connect, and I would connect with them more on social media. It's something that does happen in life, that people do want to connect with people on different things like social media and stuff. It's just like you're just a pain because you have to after the things don't work out and etc. And then you really got to move on and etc. Especially for me, it's like you got to delete everybody and kind of pick up the pieces and move on. And then try to cut the connection off as best you can. It's like it's weird. It's like, I don't know if it's like, so to some people it might not be wrong. To me it was wrong because it's like, you know, um to me it's like I'm like friends with my ex love interest my ex love interest exes. My ex love interest, I'm friends with all her all not her exes but her friends. I'm friends with her friends, and she's kind of like an ex, and it's just like it just didn't feel right. It's funny. I'm not trying to bring up my exes, but somebody mentioned to me yesterday. She's like, somebody said to me the other day, it was yesterday or the day before. Somebody's like, how many black exes have you actually had? Honestly, I've been with 3 black women in life. 3 black women. 3. One basically just used me for sex. One was my ex, which I could have treated a lot better. But I didn't really know how to handle or really accept the fact that she was a cutter and she cut herself. And I just couldn't deal with the fact that she would mentally cut herself, and I would have to see her, the blood and the scars on her arms. So I had an issue with that. And then I had another ex that was also a cutter. So I've actually had 2 black exes that were a cutter, that were cutters. And then a woman that, I basically, was basically used by, and it was consensual. But I mean, I guess if I had a better self-esteem and I had better knowledge of myself, maybe I wouldn't let this woman use me the way that she did. But I let this woman basically use me for a couple of months, and use me as a plaything and as a sex toy, and um. So I mean, I've had 3 black exes. And I mean. That's just for females, though. I mean, if you want to be honest, I've actually also had a black ex that was a guy. When I was dating guys and I was into the whole guy thing that I'm trying to give up. I mean, I had a black ex that was a guy. Actually, I've had a couple black exes that were guys. At least people I was talking to that, I was trying to talk to a couple black people that were exes. I had a love interest too. I had a love interest that we kind of were friend. We were kind of like friends with benefits, and nothing sexual came out of it. But she just the situation was just totally wrong. She rushed up here before I got paid, and etc. And expected me to pay for everything, or she ended up paying for everything, expecting me to do things in return, and she didn't need to do that. But she expected to just be to spend money and blow through money, and then go run off to Hartford, and I'll do all these things, and I'm just like, what about what I feel? I don't know. She was also an atheist. She was like, I don't believe in Black Lives Matter, but I also don't believe in racism. So I was like, okay, I get that. I mean, she was close to what I was looking for. She was close to what I was looking for. I mean, I want somebody to say I don't believe in racism, but yet I don't want I want somebody to say to me I don't really believe in Black Lives Matter. I don't believe in the wokeism of Black Lives Matter, but yet I don't believe in racism. I mean, I would go for that. I would go for, like, I don't believe in these woke ideologies, but I don't believe that you should be treating me like total dirt, or very, obviously being prejudiced to me or my name or my skin color, because basically I think that would be the type of person I should go for, because I just I'm not dealing with the woke ideologies anymore. I mean, obviously, people on the left and people who are democratic can be very, very, slutty and loose, and all kinds of shit, and the left basically lets people get away with it, without consequence. So, um, but no, I mean, I've been with people of all different races and backgrounds. I've been with people who are Asian. I've been with people who are black. I've been with people who are white. Um, and that goes for dating and sex. I haven't really. Yeah. One person I did date actually was also Indian. I dated one person. It was mostly online. It was an online relationship. We never really got it off the ground where they would come visit me from New York because they lived in New York. But um, I was dating this one guy who was actually black and Indian. He was black and, like, he was black and Indian, and he actually had, like, Indian relatives from India and stuff like that. So, um, but yeah, I mean, I've had my share of cultural diversity in my relationships, but unfortunately, trying to make things work with, like, transportation and distance and etc. also comes into play. Some people are willing to come meet me in Torrington, and basically, go out for a drink or go out for food, or even just come back to my place and fuck for a little bit. But I mean, that's happened to me too. But you know, um, but I gotta do better. I really gotta do better with my relationships. I'm looking for better. I know I gotta be better. You want better, you expect better, you want better, but yet you gotta put yourself in a position where you are doing better, and you're gonna put out better out there to really attract a better person. Here I am thinking too that obviously this person that I was obviously was this person that was obviously a ex love interest that was a black woman. I mean, she was a love interest, but she it wasn't like she was giving me much the time of day, because we couldn't get past our the arguments of the ideologies and things. But um you know I don't know. I forgot what I was gonna say, but we couldn't get past the ideologies, so she wasn't really like a nothing really came of that situation. Basically, I think that's all I really needed to say about that. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've had relationships that obviously barely got off the ground, turned into a bunch of fuckery, turned into being fucked. Me fucking a bunch of people. I don't know. Not like group sex, but, like, basically sleeping around a little. I mean, I had a period of my life too in my 20s where I slept around a little bit. I didn't take things seriously, and I kind of slept around. I mean, I should have been more open about what I wanted, and yet I was kind of jumping from relationship to relationship, you know, and I kind of was being kind of a really big piece of shit, you know, and I know I look back at that and say, yeah, you were a piece of shit and you were being a piece of shit, you know, but I was jumping around from relationship to relationship and I was kind of breaking hearts and all kinds of situations. And I mean, I was discovering a lot about myself. I was discovering a lot about my mental health. I was discovering a lot about shit, you know. Um, and you know, it was something that basically, you know, I had to learn from. You know, I had to learn from in my 20s to kind of apply some things to my 30s. You know, to hopefully know better. But I'm still learning stuff in my 30s that that I'm probably gonna wish I learned in my 20s, but or at least I want to hope I'm gonna learn. I wish I'm gonna learn before by the time I hit 50. You know, let's face it. I'm 30 years old. I'm 30 years. I'm not 30 years old, but I'm in my 30s. I'm like 30, 35, going on 36. I'm going on 36 in 2 months. Actually, about a month. About maybe, yeah, well, actually the month has just started. We'll say about 2 months and about a week or two. 2 months and about a week or two. I'm going on 36 years old. So, um, I haven't had a really good, decent relationship, or at least one that lasted more than a year, you know? I have not had that happen. I've not had a relationship that was really, you know, solid, that would grant me any type of solid foundation or any type of seriousness to really last me more than a year, you know? So, I was pretty, you know, I am pretty upset about that, but I mean, obviously it's something I'm trying to change, you know? Some of that too was because, you know, when sex became easier, love became harder to find. You know, people say, "Oh, when sex became easier, love became harder to find." That's true. You know, these days when sex became easier to get, you know, love became harder to find. You know, so I know I don't want to date a woman with a mental health disability that's a cutter again. I can't deal with cutters. You know, I can't date a woman that's a cutter. I can't date a woman that's gonna scar herself up with a blade or anything sharp. That's gonna, you know, do it to get satisfaction of a mental disorder. You know, I can't do it. You know, I honestly can't do it again. You know, I'm not a cutter. I mean, I'm not somebody who will physically sit here and like harm myself like that. I don't believe in that. You know, but. I don't know. But regardless, I'm deleting a lot of people that were, you know, I'm gonna just kind of wrap up this video by just saying this is that, you know, I had a love interest and she was an artist and she friended me for a couple of years and then I kind of got to know her and reached out to her and she said, oh, I am open to interracial relationships, and I was explaining to her my situation. She was explaining to me hers. She might have lied a little bit. She might have lied a little bit because I don't know if she knew. I don't know if she knew in the back of her mind that her friend was going to be a staff member. I don't know if in the back of her mind if she knew that if her friend was going to be a staff member. But her friend took a job for this Toivo agency. Her friend took a job for Toivo or, you know, Advocacy Unlimited or one of those, and she's now a counselor for, you know. Which I've been told I can still be friends with the people who take jobs and stuff for, you know, for being staff members for that, you know, for mental health, you know, because it's a wellness center that doesn't really have any affiliation with my mental health program other than the other wellness center that kind of works with people with mental health. But situation's already been burnt, you know, situation's been so burnt and stuff at this point that it's not funny anymore, you know. Um but yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to close the door. I'm trying to close the door. I'm trying to close doors that basically I'm trying to close doors behind me that basically need to just be shut at this point. Enough with the dragging on, and enough with the half foot in and half foot not in, and still trying to have hope for stuff to work out when really it's probably not going to work out at this point. And move forward. I mean, I'm talking to other people. There were other people that I've actually talked to that I've had interest in getting to know and etc. I mean, especially online. There's been people I wanted to know online and etc. But there's been people I've been interested in getting to know. Um, but I haven't actually got a chance to get to know certain people yet, or know what people feel, or know if anything is mutual. So, and that's the thing. You got usually mutual consent, or mutual contact is what people look for, and finding somebody who feels the same type of way or can give you the same type of mutual consent is usually a hard time, or usually is a hard time to find that key, before you can go forward. So, I mean, I'm on Facebook dating. I have other dating sites which I barely even touched. Other dating sites and things that I obviously was or is a part of. Which I probably should try to see if I can go back onto those dating sites and try to log in and try to update my profiles and update some things. But my birthday is coming up. My birthday is coming up, and Christmas is coming up, and before my birthday and Christmas, we're gonna have Thanksgiving. So, um, I'm at the point now where I just really got to get my act and my shit together so I can actually have a good holiday. I mean, most of my year has been kind of just sitting at home. I mean, I go out occasionally, and I go out to certain stores, but it's always a money factor, and sometimes it's a travel factor. For the last month or two, we've had a lot of construction outside of my place. We've had a lot of construction. We've had a lot of construction on the roads and stuff. So I haven't been able to really travel as much or do as much as I would like to do, because I can't get down the road and etc. because everything is like construction. So, but at this point, I'm just gonna do what I need to do and just breathe. Obviously, I think it's just an etiquette thing. What I'm trying to explain is like, when you have a love interest in stuff and it doesn't work out, and you kind of befriend, you like befriend a person's family or befriend a person's friends and etc. and they weren't really your friends or your family to be friends with in the first place, that I think you should just kind of cut those people off and just kind of move on, and that's kind of what I'm doing. I mean, I hate social media sometimes, and I hate relationships that happen through social media sometimes. People say it's best to keep those relationships off social media and off. I've never had a relationship that I suck at keeping secrets. I suck at keeping secrets, and I mean, I'll be the worst person for a relationship off of social media, where I would have to hush hush, because I'd be like, I want to tell the world that, oh, I'm dating this person. This person's about to be my baby. Yeah, I'm that person. I'm that person that wants to show my girlfriend off, but not always a good thing. I've learned, not always a good thing, and not always beneficial to the relationship. So, anyways. That's just where I'm at. I'm at the point where, I even blocked Joseph Arthur. I actually blocked Joseph Arthur today. I blocked his pages. I blocked a couple of pages of the people I supported in the past that didn't work out. So I blocked I blocked a couple of their art pages. I blocked Joseph Arthur, because originally some people said I really shouldn't have supported Joseph Arthur after our misunderstanding where I cursed him out and etc. Some people are like, well, you should never really continue supporting him, but I had been for the longest time. But I'm at that point now where it's just like, people always going to have something to say, whether it's good or bad. I mean, you just got to find what you're going to do to make you happy, and I think there's just a cycle thing going on that I think is not even really totally healthy for Joseph Arthur himself too, when it comes to me following him, or him knowing that I'm obviously posting or talking about him, or or trying to follow him narcissistic way. I don't think it's no longer healthy for him, you know. I mean, some people wonder if it's healthy for me because I have to sit here sometimes and go off and say, oh, you know, people are saying I'm trying to take, you know, people are trying to say I'm trying to take people's identity and etc., which has turned into a bunch of drama and bullshit and toxicity. But, you know, and I've thought about that. I thought about how toxic that kind of can get, or how toxic just having to just say that can be, you know, when really you should just move the fuck on from situations and just not even give a fuck, you know. It sucks too that you can't really support certain people without there being, you know, without there being such a drama or such a negativity behind it, you know. So I don't know, but peace, Facebook.